They tell you the devil is a red monster with a pitchfork. They tell you hell is a burning cave underground. They lie to you so you can sleep at night. The truth is much colder. The abyss is not a chaos of fire and screaming. It is a cartel. A military corporation of pure hatred, organized in brutal, absolute ranks. They are the exiled assets of the divine system. When the rebellion failed, they were not just thrown out. They were unplugged, disconnected from the infinite energy of the Creator. Now they are starving. They survive in the dark, draining human sanity just to keep from fading into the void. Welcome to the anatomy of the fall. This is not a horror movie. This is ancient, tactical theology, explicitly documented and verified in the biblical texts. The hierarchy is real. The war never ended. It just went invisible. Survive the truth. Before you look at the ranks, you must understand the rules of the abyss. Demons do not have physical bodies. In the physical universe, they are naked, exposed. The ambient light of a universe they no longer belong to burns them. They experience physical reality as freezing, blinding static. They are desperate for a shell. They are desperate for a shield. They do not hate you because you are human. They hate you because you have a warm body, and they do not. You are a safe house in a freezing blizzard, and they will break the windows to get inside. The hierarchy is built on this desperation. The lower you are, the more you starve. The higher you are, the more you feed. Level 1. The Unclean Spirit. You are the base of the pyramid, the bottom of the abyss. The humans call you a demon, but in the ancient Greek texts, you are just an unclean spirit. You are the cannon fodder, the mud of the underworld. You have no jurisdiction. You have no political power. You do not govern nations. Your only target is the individual human mind. You are completely disconnected from the source. The spiritual cold is agonizing. You wander through dry, desolate places, exactly as the ancient scriptures say, looking for rest. But there is no rest. You are a parasite made of shadow and hunger. You crawl through the gutters of humanity. You do not attack strong, guarded minds. You look for the broken ones. You look for trauma, addiction, grief, extreme fear. These are cracks in the human spiritual armor. When you find a crack, you push your way in. The invasion is a biological takeover. You wrap your invisible form around their nervous system. You hijack their dopamine receptors. You whisper in their ear, but you make them think it is their own voice. You tell them to drink more, to hate more, to isolate themselves. Isolation is your best weapon. You cut them off from their family, from the light. Once they are alone in the dark, you take the wheel. Total possession is your ultimate prize. When you take over, you shut down the human consciousness. You put them in the passenger seat of their own body. You make them scream with a voice that is not theirs. You make them break their own bones because you do not care about the vehicle. You are just driving it until the engine explodes. You want to drag the human image, the masterpiece of the Creator, into the dirt. You want to make them act like wild, rabid animals. In the Bible, the Creator in human form met you in a graveyard. The man you possessed was living in the tombs, cutting his own flesh with sharp stones. When you were confronted by the divine, you begged. You called yourself Legion, for we are many. You never hunt alone. You swarm like spiritual locusts. A single human body can hold hundreds of you, packed together in the dark. And when you were cast out, you panicked. You begged to be sent into a herd of pigs. You would rather possess a filthy animal and drown in the sea than face the freezing void of the abyss again. That is your pathetic reality. You are terrified of the dark. You are the lowest rank, a starving ghost feeding on human misery just to survive another day. But as you look up the pyramid, the horror only grows. You survive the mud. You leave the unclean spirits behind to feed on the scraps of broken minds. The scale of the war changes. You look up. The system of the abyss requires structure. It requires management. You are no longer a starving ghost in a graveyard. You are promoted to the macro management of the dark. Level 2. The Principality. The Greek texts call you Archai. The Hebrew texts call you Sar, a prince. But you are not royalty. You are a warlord of the unseen realm. You do not care about one miserable human mind. The High Command hands you a map. Your target is a border, a nation, a continent. You hover in the frozen atmosphere above human capitals. You are a territorial dictator. The Book of Daniel exposes your existence. When a divine messenger tried to deliver a prophecy to earth, he hit a wall in the spiritual realm. That wall was you. You were the Prince of Persia, a demonic entity so massive, so entrenched in the fabric of the empire, that it took 21 days of brutal, metaphysical hand-to-hand combat to break your line. And it required the Archangel Michael, the top military commander of heaven's armies, to finally push you back. You feed on collective energy. In the ancient world, you did not hide in the shadows. You demanded worship. Scholars of the occult and ancient theology suggest the bloodthirsty gods of antiquity were not myths. They were you. Baal, Molech, Chemosh. You were a principality. You demanded the sacrifice of human children in the fire to keep your territorial grid active. You consumed the anguish of parents to power your grip on the region. Today, you do not ask for stone altars. You wear a suit. You ask for extreme nationalism. You breathe toxic pride into the soil. You draw imaginary lines on human maps and whisper into the ears of generals to defend them with blood. When artillery shells turn a city to ash, when the earth drinks the blood of thousands in a border war, you smile. You consume the mass terror. The humans think they are fighting for flags and land. They do not know they are just generating food for a geographic vampire. You are a prince of the earth, and your kingdom is a slaughterhouse. Level 3, the power. You leave the physical geography behind. You ascend deeper into the cold bureaucracy of hell. You are a power, an authority. The Greek word is exousiai. You do not claim a piece of land. You claim the systems that run on it. You are the invisible architect of systemic oppression. You corrupt the infrastructure of human society. Law, politics, economy, education. You do not possess individuals like a rabid animal. You possess human institutions. This is where human history bleeds the most. Shadowy records and theorists of spiritual warfare suggest that the greatest monsters of human history did not act alone. Men like Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Vlad the Impaler. They were not just madmen, they were avatars. They were human radios perfectly tuned to your dark, static frequency. You do not need to control their motor functions. You just inject thoughts into their sociopathic minds. You whisper the blueprints of tyranny. You orchestrate the Holocaust. You design the gulags. You draft the laws that make genocide legal. You are a creature of terrifying intellect. You understand human psychology better than any mortal scientist. You know that if you want to destroy 1 million souls, you do not use fire and brimstone. You use paperwork. You use propaganda. You make the evil look normal. You make it look patriotic. You make the citizens cheer as the trains roll toward the extermination camps. You do not get your hands dirty with physical violence. You sit in the unseen dimensions, pulling the strings of the human judicial system. You are the reason why the innocent rot in prisons while the guilty walk free. You are the architect of institutional rot. You watch the humans grind each other into dust inside the very systems they built to protect themselves. You are a mid-level manager of the apocalypse. You fight the angels not with swords, but with corrupted human laws. And your daily quota is measured in millions of dead. The bureaucracy of the abyss is efficient. But as you climb higher, the intelligence becomes even more terrifying. You are climbing the ladder of the damned. You leave the mid-level managers behind. Human politics, national borders, and institutional rot are just tools for you now. They are beneath your notice. You move beyond the dirt of the physical world. You enter the command center of global consciousness. You are a strategist of the apocalypse. Level 4. The Cosmocrator. The Greek text of Ephesians calls you Cosmocrator, the ruler of this world, the Lord of the age. You do not govern a nation, you govern the spirit of the times. You are the general of the zeitgeist. Ancient grimoires and hidden theological texts do not scream your names, they whisper them with terrified respect. Scholars identify your leadership. Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies. This is not a cartoon character. In ancient Canaanite mythology, Baal-zebul meant Lord of the heavenly dwelling. But when he fell, the Hebrew scriptures corrupted the name to Baal-zebub, the Lord of the Flies. Why? Because flies gather around rot, decay, excrement. You are the Lord of systemic corruption. You manage the decay of human morality. You are the unseen gravity pull toward selfishness, cruelty, and despair. Another commander at this rank is Abaddon. The Hebrew scriptures identify him as destruction. The Greek texts name him Apollyon, the destroyer. Revelation 9 describes you as the king of the bottomless pit, the general of a demonic army of locusts with scorpion tails, waiting for the final seals to be broken so you can torture humanity for 5 months. Your power is the pure, raw urge to delete existence. You breathe into the human psyche the obsession with mutually assured destruction. You do not possess one weak mind in a graveyard. You possess the atmosphere of the planet. You inject nihilism, depression, and existential dread into the DNA of entire generations. You are the voice in the global consciousness that screams, "Life is meaningless. God is dead. Eat, drink, for tomorrow we die." You create a psychological paradigm shift. You make the truth look like a lie, and the lie look like salvation. You pull the strings of the global media, the entertainment industry, and the philosophical currents to ensure humanity stays blind, deaf, and stupid to the spiritual reality around them. You do not just create darkness, you make humanity fall in love with it. Level 5. The Fallen Elite. You cross the final threshold. You enter the stratosphere of the occult, the High Command. The Greek texts of Ephesians call you the pneumatica tes ponerias en tois epuranios, the spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. You do not operate on the earth, in the nations, or in the mind. You operate in the heavens, the spiritual dimension that borders the domain of the Creator. You are the elite, the aristocracy of the abyss. Before the rebellion, you were not an infantry soldier. You were a cherub. You were a seraphim. You stood in the immediate presence of the holy. You have seen the layout of the divine machine, and you know how to break it. Your power is the most terrifying paradox of the war. You retain your angelic appearance, but your core is corrupted by a cold, mathematical, and eternal hatred. You do not fight with terror, you fight with beauty. 2 Corinthians 11:14 exposes your ultimate tatika. For Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. You are a masterpiece of deception. You are the master of fake news from heaven. You appear to humans not as a horned monster, but as a being of dazzling, radiant light. You are beautiful. You seem holy. You deliver messages that sound true, but contain a microscopic drop of poison that will eventually kill the soul. You are the architect of false religions, cults, and esoteric deceptions. You appear in deserts and secret chambers to prophets and gurus, giving them new revelations. You tell them that all religions are the same. You tell them that sin does not exist. You tell them that they can be their own God. You twist the ancient scriptures by 1 single millimeter, and that 1 degree of error over 2,000 years creates 1 billion souls destined for the void. You manipulate the human urge for the sacred to lead them to their doom. You fight the ultimate battle, not for bodies, not for nations, but for the very concept of the divine. And you do it while wearing a smile of blinding, perfect light. You reach the top of the pyramid. The throne room of the abyss is not made of fire. It is absolute zero. It is the freezing, suffocating weight of total separation from the Creator. You are the apex, the command center. You are the ultimate anomaly in the divine machine. The apex, the adversary. Your true name is lost to time. The humans call you Satan. But in ancient Hebrew, Satan is not a first name. It is a military title. It means the adversary. The Greek texts call you Diabolos, the slanderer, the accuser. The book of Revelation calls you the great dragon, the ancient serpent. Before the system crashed, the prophet Ezekiel said you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. You were the anointed cherub who guarded the throne of God. You walked among the fiery stones, but your internal code glitched. Pride corrupted your hard drive. You looked at your own blinding light and decided you did not need the source. You wanted to sit on the mountain of the assembly. You wanted to be like the Most High. You initiated the rebellion. You pulled 1/3 of the angels down with you into the dark. But here is your greatest secret, the weakness you hide from humanity. You are not a god. You are a created being. You are not omniscient. You do not know everything. You are not omnipresent. You cannot be everywhere at once. You are trapped in the limitations of time and space. That is why you built this massive, brutal hierarchy. The unclean spirits, the principalities, the powers, the elites, they are your nervous system. They are your eyes and ears on the ground. Without them, you are blind. You process the data of billions of human lives through this dark network, analyzing their weaknesses, their sins, and their fears. Your primary weapon is not physical destruction, it is litigation. You are the ultimate cosmic prosecutor. Revelation 12 describes you standing day and night before the divine court, accusing humanity. You point at their flaws. You demand their execution. You demand justice without mercy because you received no mercy. But your masterpiece on earth is your invisibility. You are a genius of psychological warfare. You convinced the modern world that you are just a myth, a cartoon character with horns meant to scare children, a metaphor for human cruelty. You made humanity outgrow the fear of the dark. And while they sit in their universities and their comfortable homes, mocking the idea of your existence, you are quietly dismantling the infrastructure of their souls. You do not want them to worship you. You just want them to ignore you until it is too late. You are the architect of the invisible war, and right now, you are winning. The collapse, the warning. The transmission ends, the screen fades to black. But the abyss never sleeps. The entities we just decoded are not trapped in a book. They are operating in the airspace above your city right now. They are woven into the algorithms you consume. They are whispering through the screens you stare at in the dark. The human spiritual defense system is collapsing. People are fighting flesh and blood, completely blind to the geopolitical and psychological war raging in the unseen dimensions. They are fighting the puppets, while the unseen principalities pull the strings. You survived this download. You now know the anatomical structure of the dark, but knowledge without action is just a target on your back. The system is watching. The algorithm of the abyss is tracking human ignorance. If you want to survive the true nature of reality, you must align with the truth. You must armor your mind. Subscribe to this frequency. Activate the alert. This is not just a channel. It is a tactical briefing for a war you did not ask to fight. Stay sharp, stay in the light, or be consumed by the dark.